So I'd like to thank everyone for being here. This is a WWHM 2012 workshop. We're going to be going over basics of modeling. A lot of people have questions about chamber modeling recently, so we're going into chambers. We're going to be modeling with some Principal hydro store chambers and going over flow duration. What is the criteria we need to meet in Western Washington? And take some questions as well. So this is a just workshop that hopefully will be informative for everyone. Everyone can kind of just relax, take in the information, ask some questions. So who are we? We're Clear Creek Solutions, and we were founded all the way back in 2005 by Joe Brasher and Doug Barline. I'm Joseph Brasher Jr., EIT. My father and Doug Barline started the company. We specialize in software development, hydrology solutions, and stormwater modeling. There's 60 plus years of experience between the senior members. And we developed chiefly the WWHM 2012 for the counties of Western Washington, as well as numerous software packages that are being used along the West Coast that utilize continuous simulation hydrology. So that is our background there. So what is, excuse me, there we go. So what is the background of WWHM 2012? Well, the WWHM 2012 is a continuous simulation software package. So unlike anything maybe you were taught in college or have utilized before, which is typically a single event stormwater software or equation, continuous simulation relies on the engine, which is called HSPF, which is hydrologic program Fortran, which is the engine for WWHM 2012. It allows us to utilize over 60 plus years of rainfall data and information to then model the entire hydrologic cycle. So as opposed to something you're used to where, well, we have a stormwater event and we have a return event, that's going to give us a volume and then we can model our facility based on that. Continuous simulation actually is modeling through time steps this entire hydrologic cycle. And so it allows us to get a better picture of what's going on in our environments. And so instead of modeling a facility just for volume or something like that, we're actually modeling our facility to meet a flow duration, to meet a flow frequency standard, because it is more applicable to how weather and how rainfall acts here in Western Washington. So we use this model to size stormwater facilities. We can use it to perform water quality analysis, and it relies on that 60 plus years of rainfall data and that 15-minute time step. So what are the Department of Ecology's minimum requirements when it comes to stormwater, right? This is if you're designing a project, if you're involved in project design in Western Washington, you're probably very familiar with these at this point. I'm sorry, I'm just going to put those links in the chat one more time so everyone can see them there. There's 9 minimum requirements, right? WWHM is focused on helping you meet 3 different minimum requirements, but there's minimum requirement 1, which is a stormwater site plan, minimum requirement 2, which is your construction parameters there. Minimum requirement number 3 is your source control pollution, preservation of natural drainage systems. 5 is on-site stormwater management. And then, of course, as we get into 6, 7, and 8, runoff treatment. 7 is flow control. 8 is wetlands protection. And number 9 is operation and maintenance. So you can, I just put a link in the chat there. You can download the stormwater manual, the Western Washington Stormwater Manual. If you guys are involved in modeling, I'm sure you're all very familiar with this at this point. So, but I put the link in the chat there if you want to take a look at that. This is where we derive our standards for the model. So WWHM 2012 helps you meet minimum requirements 6, 7, and 8. So it's a model that you can then use to meet those requirements on your project, make it easy for you to do that. And so the different requirements that can help you meet is one of them is minimum requirement number 6, which is runoff treatment, right? Which meeting that 91% filtered threshold. Fire retention is often used for that. We're not going to go into that in this workshop here. What we're concerned about in this workshop is minimum requirement number 7, which is flow control. So what is the purpose of flow control? We're trying to prevent an erosive flow range from occurring in our natural environment. So if you have a natural environment, then you add a bunch of land use, you add a bunch of impervious area, a bunch of roads. Now we're changing how that water is now running off back into the natural environment and the sedimentation that's now being carried into our streams. So by reducing the erosive flows, by using a mitigation facility and matching that pre-developed range, we can now simulate what it was like in that pre-developed environment. So we're not introducing extra sedimentation, extra pollution into the environment and damaging our streams in the long run. V5.3 is the general design criteria for infiltration BMPs, which we're going to go into an infiltration scenario here. And so that's where we're deriving those requirements for flow control. And then minimum requirement number is wetlands protection. We're not covering wetlands here, although we could talk for probably 10 hours about wetland protection. You can contact us if you have more questions about that. But we are mostly going to focus on minimum requirement number 7. But that's how WWHM 2012 helps you meet those minimum requirements. So the software off the get-go can help you meet all those different things. We're going to look at minimum requirement number 7 in this workshop. And so we're going to get into modeling. We're going to be modeling with chamber elements. We've been hearing a lot about people utilizing more and more chamber elements, especially also across the entire West Coast, because of how development space is being utilized, how we need to be as efficient as possible. Chambers are being used a lot. So we thought it would be really productive in this workshop to take a look at a couple modeling scenarios involving stormwater chambers. This is going to be using the Prinsco HydroStore chambers is what we're going to be using in this one. And you can download the beta link for the model, which is in the chat for wwhm 2012. It's a link there, and that'll allow you access to these Prinsco HydroStore chambers and begin modeling with those. So that's our agenda for this. Let me share a new screen now